Aging brings many unexpected challenges that often catch us off guard. Things like forgetting names, feeling more tired than usual, or even struggling with simple daily tasks. It's something most of us don't anticipate as we grow older. But here's the good news: you're not alone. Meet Sarah, a vibrant 67-year-old woman who just a few years ago was always on the go. Now she faces the reality of aging, and her story is one many seniors can relate to. In this video, we'll dive into common challenges seniors face and offer practical solutions to help you navigate these changes with confidence. Before we dive into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update from The Wise Senior. We share practical, science-backed tips every day to help you live healthier, happier, and more fulfilled after 60. Now let's get started. As Sarah continues to navigate the changes that come with aging, one of the most common challenges she's faced is memory lapses, particularly when it comes to forgetting names. It's a situation that can leave anyone feeling embarrassed, and Sarah found herself in this very scenario recently. While shopping at the grocery store, she bumped into a neighbor she's known for years, but couldn't remember her name. It was awkward, but Sarah soon realized that this is something many older adults experience. Forgetting names or key details can feel frustrating and make you wonder if you're losing your touch, but it's essential to remember that these lapses are a normal part of aging. It's something that happens to most people, and you're not alone in this. The good news is there are practical strategies that can help manage these moments. One effective tip Sarah has found helpful is writing down names or other important details as you meet new people. By jotting down a name or noting something significant about them, you create a simple system that helps you remember later when needed. In addition to writing things down, using reminders on your phone is a great way to stay organized. Before meeting someone again, simply glance at your notes to refresh your memory. This reduces the stress of feeling like you've forgotten something important and helps you stay confident in social situations. And remember, it's okay to ask for someone's name again. Most people will appreciate your effort to reconnect, and it shows that you care about making the effort to remember them. By implementing these strategies, you can turn memory lapses into manageable moments rather than stressful ones. It's not about being perfect, it's about staying proactive and reducing the frustration that comes with these everyday challenges. If you've ever experienced something similar, share your tips or experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you handle those occasional memory lapses. Not long after her memory lapses became more noticeable, Sarah began experiencing something even more unsettling: sudden exhaustion. Tasks that once felt effortless, like preparing lunch or tidying up the living room, started to drain her energy far more than expected. It was confusing at first. How could I feel so tired after doing so little? She wondered. This kind of fatigue is more common than people realize. As we age, the body processes energy differently, and what once felt like routine activity can become surprisingly taxing. But there are ways to manage it. The first step is learning to pace yourself. Sarah began spacing out her daily tasks, doing the dishes in the morning, resting afterward, and saving laundry for the afternoon. This small adjustment helped her feel less overwhelmed and more in control. Hydration was another key shift. Like many seniors, Sarah hadn't realized how even mild dehydration could zap her energy. Now she keeps a water bottle nearby and sips throughout the day. Nutrition also plays a quiet but crucial role. Instead of having 2 heavy meals, Sarah started eating smaller, balanced portions throughout the day. A bowl of oatmeal in the morning, a light salad with protein at lunch, and a simple dinner with whole grains and vegetables. These changes kept her blood sugar more stable and helped her avoid the post-meal crashes that used to wipe her out. Most importantly, Sarah learned to listen to her body. When it asks for rest, she gives herself permission to pause. A short nap, a quiet moment on the porch, or simply sitting down with a warm drink can do wonders. Fatigue may be a part of aging, but with small, thoughtful adjustments, it doesn't have to define the day. After adjusting to the fatigue, Sarah thought she was beginning to regain her rhythm. But another unwelcome surprise crept in. Her weight began to climb, even though her daily routine hadn't changed. She still took her morning walks, still watched what she ate. So why were her pants suddenly tighter? This quiet shift is something many older adults face. As we age, our metabolism naturally slows, meaning the body burns fewer calories even at rest. Hormonal changes, muscle loss, and reduced physical activity can all contribute to this gradual weight gain, especially around the midsection. At first, Sarah felt frustrated. She had always considered herself mindful about her health. But rather than getting discouraged, she chose to respond with curiosity and intention. She began by reevaluating her meals. Instead of large portions, she switched to smaller, more frequent meals packed with nutrient-dense foods, leafy greens, lean proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains. This helped her stay energized without overeating. Next, she added strength training to her week, not with heavy weights, but simple resistance bands and body weight exercises. A few times a week, she practiced slow squats, light arm lifts, and gentle core exercises. These movements helped maintain muscle mass, which in turn supported her metabolism. Walking remained a daily habit, but instead of treating it like a casual stroll, Sarah began to walk with more purpose, brisker steps, longer distances, and sometimes inviting a neighbor for added motivation. Through all these adjustments, she stayed kind to herself. She knew her body was changing, and instead of fighting those changes, she chose to work with them. Unexpected weight gain in your 60s and beyond isn't always about what you're doing wrong. It's often just a signal to listen more closely to what your body needs now. And with a few steady changes, like Sarah, you can move forward feeling stronger, lighter, and more at peace with the process. As Sarah focused on staying active and making healthier food choices, another reality of aging began to demand her attention. More frequent visits to the doctor. What once felt like a once-a-year checkup had gradually turned into monthly appointments. Blood pressure checks, cholesterol panels, medication reviews, bone density scans. It seemed like her calendar was filling up with more white coats than weekend plans. At first, it felt overwhelming. Sarah had always been healthy and independent, so the sudden shift toward regular medical monitoring made her feel like her body was no longer her own. But with time, she reframed her mindset. These visits weren't a sign of decline, they were her way of staying ahead. Instead of letting her appointments pile up chaotically, she created a simple health calendar, noting each upcoming checkup, test, or follow-up. She used colorful stickers to mark dates that needed preparation, like fasting before a blood test, or bringing a list of questions for her doctor. Sarah also started keeping a small health journal. Nothing fancy, just a notebook where she jotted down any symptoms, changes in her energy, or questions that came up between visits. This way, she never forgot to mention something important during appointments, and she felt more in control of the conversations with her care team. These simple steps made a huge difference. They didn't just help her stay organized, they reminded her that she was an active participant in her health, not just a passive recipient of care. She also realized that catching issues early, like the slight rise in her blood pressure or signs of vitamin deficiency, allowed her to make small lifestyle changes before problems grew larger. Prevention, she discovered, was far easier than treatment. For anyone in their 60s and beyond, frequent doctor visits can feel like a burden. But Sarah's experience reminds us that with the right tools, a calendar, a notebook, and a proactive attitude, they can become a powerful source of reassurance and strength. Aging may bring new routines, but with a bit of planning, they don't have to take over your life. They can become part of how you stay strong, informed, and empowered every step of the way. After settling into a rhythm with her health appointments, Sarah began to notice something else. Something quieter, but just as unsettling. She found herself rereading the same page of her book multiple times. Conversations with friends felt harder to follow, especially in noisy cafes. And despite her lifelong love of reading, her mind wandered just minutes after opening a novel. It wasn't alarming at first, just little lapses in attention, but over time, they became frustrating. Sarah missed the mental clarity she once had and wondered if this was just another part of growing older. Thankfully, she wasn't alone, and this wasn't without solutions. Her doctor reassured her that many older adults experience changes in focus and mental sharpness, often due to natural aging, lifestyle, or even stress. The encouraging part, the brain, much like the body, benefits greatly from regular exercise. Sarah decided to take small but intentional steps. Every morning, she started her day with a 10-minute puzzle, crosswords, Sudoku, even word-matching games on her tablet. They weren't just fun, they gave her mind something to stretch into. She also joined a local community class where she began learning the basics of watercolor painting, something completely new, which challenged her creativity and memory in ways she hadn't expected. In addition to mental stimulation, Sarah took a closer look at her daily habits. She began prioritizing sleep, sticking to a regular bedtime routine, and cutting back on late-night screen time. She also made a point of moving more throughout the day, walking after lunch, stretching in the evening, and eating meals rich in brain-friendly nutrients like leafy greens, berries, and healthy fats. These small efforts didn't produce instant results, but over time, she noticed a difference. Her concentration improved, and even more importantly, she began to feel more engaged in her daily life. Tasks that once felt foggy became enjoyable again. Sarah's experience reminds us that losing focus isn't a sign of failure. It's a cue to slow down, re-engage, and take care of our minds with the same attention we give to our bodies. Just as Sarah was beginning to feel more in control of her focus and mental clarity, another quiet but persistent challenge began to surface: loneliness. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. It crept in during quiet afternoons when the phone didn't ring, or in the evenings when she realized it had been days since she had seen a familiar face. As her social circle naturally shrank due to friends moving, health concerns, or simply the passage of time, Sarah began to feel the weight of isolation. For someone who used to host lively Sunday brunches and weekly book clubs, the silence felt deafening. And though she valued solitude, there was a fine line between peaceful alone time and the ache of feeling disconnected. Sarah realized that emotional well-being wasn't just about keeping her mind sharp. It was about nurturing the relationships that gave her days meaning. Rather than waiting for connection to come to her, she decided to take small, manageable steps to reach out. First, she joined a weekly walking group at her local community center, a low-pressure way to meet others while staying active. She also discovered a virtual group for older adults who shared her interest in watercolor painting. Each Thursday, they met over video chat to paint, laugh, and share stories. It wasn't the same as in-person gatherings, but it brought a surprising sense of comfort and community. Even more powerful were the simple, everyday efforts she made, striking up conversation with her pharmacist, calling her niece every Sunday, and saying yes to a neighbor's invitation for coffee. These interactions, however brief, served as lifelines, reminding her that connection didn't always require grand gestures. Sarah's journey showed her that loneliness is not a personal flaw. It's a shared reality for many older adults, and it can be softened by reaching out, showing up, and saying yes just a little more often. Because at any age, human connection remains one of the most powerful tools we have for healing, joy, and resilience. After taking steps to reconnect socially, Sarah felt emotionally uplifted, but physically, another reality had begun to weigh on her. Her mobility wasn't what it used to be. She first noticed it while bending down to tie her shoes. The stiffness in her hips surprised her. A short walk that once felt refreshing now left her legs sore and her knees aching. It wasn't dramatic, but it was noticeable and frustrating. For someone who had always prided herself on staying active, these small limitations were discouraging. Sarah knew that this wasn't just getting older. It was her body sending signals, reminding her to pay attention. Rather than accepting decline as inevitable, she decided to take action, one gentle step at a time. Her doctor recommended a set of low-impact stretching routines to improve joint flexibility and reduce stiffness. So, every morning after her tea, Sarah dedicated 10 quiet minutes to stretch by her living room window. The movements were slow, but they helped her feel more connected to her body. She also discovered a local senior yoga class tailored for balance and joint health. The sessions were filled with laughter, light music, and others who shared her concerns and her determination. These classes didn't just help her body move better, they helped her feel part of something again. When she felt ready, she added light strength training exercises using resistance bands and small hand weights. Her goal wasn't to become a bodybuilder. It was to support her independence, maintain strength, and reduce her risk of falls. Even on days when she felt too tired, Sarah reminded herself that consistency was more important than intensity. A few minutes a day was better than doing nothing at all. Over time, she noticed improvements, not just in how she moved, but in how she felt. The small act of showing up for herself each day was empowering. Mobility might change with age, but it doesn't have to disappear. For Sarah, reclaiming control over her movements became a powerful symbol of resilience. It reminded her that aging isn't about sitting still, it's about moving forward, one intentional step at a time. With her mobility gradually improving, Sarah felt more confident during the day, but nights were a different story. For months now, she'd found herself tossing and turning, waking up in the early hours, her mind racing with thoughts, and her body too restless to fall back asleep. What used to be a peaceful end to the day had become a nightly struggle. The lack of rest left her groggy in the mornings, and made even simple tasks more draining. Sarah's doctor explained that this was a common challenge for many older adults. Hormonal changes, combined with natural shifts in the body's internal clock and occasional physical discomfort, often made deep, uninterrupted sleep harder to come by. But rather than relying solely on sleep aids, Sarah wanted to take a more natural approach. She began by establishing a simple bedtime routine. Every evening, she would dim the lights around 8:30, sip a cup of herbal tea, and spend 15 minutes reading something lighthearted. No news, no screens, just a calming story in a quiet space. She also set a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking up at the same time each day, even on weekends. One of the most helpful changes was limiting caffeine after 2 p.m., something she hadn't realized was affecting her rest. She swapped her afternoon coffee for warm water with lemon or chamomile tea. In addition, Sarah added a few gentle stretches before bed to ease tension in her legs and back. Those small routines helped signal to her body that it was time to wind down. Within a few weeks, Sarah noticed a real difference. She wasn't waking up as frequently, and even when she did, she found it easier to relax and return to sleep. The fog of fatigue began to lift, and her days felt brighter and more manageable. Sleep, she realized, wasn't just about rest, it was about restoration. And by treating it with care, she was reclaiming another essential piece of her well-being. As Sarah began to enjoy deeper, more restful sleep, she noticed that her days were starting to feel more energetic again. But another subtle change was becoming hard to ignore. Her vision and hearing weren't quite what they used to be. She found herself squinting more often when reading her favorite books, and during group conversations at her community center, she struggled to follow the dialogue, especially when multiple people were speaking. At first, she brushed it off as a normal part of getting older, but when she missed a key detail in a conversation with her granddaughter and had to ask for repetition during a doctor's visit, she realized it was time to take action. Sarah booked both an eye exam and a hearing checkup, determined to understand what was going on and what she could do to stay fully engaged with the world around her. The results were reassuring. She simply needed a new prescription for her glasses and a modest hearing aid for her left ear. While the idea of wearing a hearing aid had once felt intimidating, Sarah was surprised by how discreet and effective the modern devices were. With just a small adjustment, the background noise of daily life no longer drowned out important voices. Conversations became clearer, and the stress of mishearing or missing out started to fade. Her vision too improved dramatically with her updated glasses. Reading became enjoyable again, and she felt more confident walking around outdoors or navigating her home. These small improvements had a big impact, restoring not only her senses, but her sense of independence. Sarah's experience served as a reminder: vision and hearing may change with age, but those changes don't have to mean retreating from life. Regular checkups and the right tools can help preserve the ability to connect, communicate, and stay involved. For her, embracing support didn't mean giving something up. It meant reclaiming the vibrant, attentive life she still wanted to live. After addressing her vision and hearing concerns, Sarah felt more in tune with her environment, both visually and orally. But soon she noticed something else that surprised her. Temperatures that once felt just right now seemed either uncomfortably hot or too chilly to bear. On sunny afternoons, she found herself retreating indoors more quickly than before, and even mild winter mornings made her reach for heavier coats and extra scarves. This newfound sensitivity wasn't just an inconvenience, it was interfering with her daily comfort and routines. Sarah, who once enjoyed gardening in the late morning sun or taking a breezy walk around the block in the evening, now felt trapped by the thermostat. It took some time for her to realize that this shift was more than a personal quirk. It was actually a common part of aging. As we grow older, our bodies become less efficient at regulating internal temperature, making it easier to overheat or become chilled, even when others feel fine. Instead of letting it hold her back, Sarah began to make small but impactful adjustments. She started layering her clothes more thoughtfully, choosing breathable cottons in the summer and warm, moisture-wicking fabrics in the winter. She also added simple comforts around her home, a cozy fleece throw for reading on the couch, a portable fan in the kitchen, and even a gentle warming pad for her feet during cooler evenings. More importantly, she gave herself permission to respond to her body's signals without judgment. When the heat felt too intense, she stayed indoors and enjoyed iced herbal tea near a fan. On cold mornings, she allowed herself a little extra time to warm up before heading out. These changes helped her feel more at ease and less frustrated by something she couldn't control. For Sarah, learning to adapt wasn't about giving up, it was about honoring what her body needed now. And in doing so, she rediscovered how to stay comfortable and confident in every season of life. After learning how to better manage her sensitivity to temperature, Sarah began to feel more physically comfortable, but internally, something else was stirring. She noticed that little things like a late package delivery or a phone call that interrupted her favorite show were starting to irritate her more than they used to. It wasn't like her. Sarah had always considered herself a calm, easygoing person. But lately, she found herself snapping more easily, feeling frustrated over things that never used to bother her. At first, she brushed it off as stress or a rough day. But when these emotional flare-ups became more frequent, Sarah realized it might be part of something bigger. As we age, hormonal shifts and the emotional weight of life's changes, like losing loved ones, feeling less independent, or simply adjusting to a slower pace, can all influence our mood. It's more common than people think, and often it sneaks up quietly. The good news, it doesn't have to stay that way. Sarah decided to try a few gentle practices to help herself feel more balanced. She began each morning with a few minutes of deep breathing, just sitting quietly with her hands on her lap, letting the tension melt away. She also started keeping a small gratitude journal, jotting down 3 things each day that brought her joy, no matter how small. Some days it was a good cup of coffee, other times it was a kind message from her daughter. She also practiced giving herself grace. When she felt irritated, she paused instead of reacting. "I'm just having a moment," she'd remind herself. These small shifts helped her feel more in control, and over time the irritability softened. Mood changes are a natural part of aging, but they don't have to define our days. Like Sarah, we can meet them with compassion, intention, and a few mindful habits that bring us back to peace, one breath, one page of gratitude at a time. While Sarah had started to find more emotional balance through mindfulness and gratitude, another challenge quietly made its way into her life, one that struck deeper than any mood swing. It was the quiet realization that she now needed help with things she used to do without a second thought. Lifting heavy grocery bags, reaching top shelves, or even managing home repairs felt more daunting than they used to. And while her children were happy to assist, Sarah couldn't shake the uncomfortable feeling that she was becoming a burden. For someone who had always taken pride in her independence, this shift felt like an unwelcome loss. She hesitated before asking for help, even when she needed it most. But over time, Sarah began to understand something crucial. Accepting support doesn't mean surrendering independence. It means adapting and choosing to live smarter, not harder. She started with small steps. When her neighbor offered to pick up items from the store, Sarah said yes, and even shared a laugh over forgetting her own shopping list. She hired a part-time housekeeper, not out of weakness, but so she could spend more energy on the things that brought her joy, like gardening, reading, and visiting with her grandchildren. Letting go of the idea that she had to do it all didn't diminish her. It empowered her. She began to see that true independence isn't just about doing everything on your own, but about making choices that support your well-being. By reframing the way she thought about help, Sarah gained something unexpected, a renewed sense of control over her time and her life. And perhaps even more importantly, she discovered that allowing others to support her actually deepened her connections, brought new conversations, and created space for joy to return. Sometimes staying strong means knowing when to lean, because strength and independence can absolutely coexist. Aging is not a problem to be solved. It's a journey to be embraced. Through Sarah's experiences, we've uncovered 12 real-life challenges many seniors quietly face, from memory slips and physical fatigue to emotional shifts and the changing rhythms of daily life. But more importantly, we've learned that each of these challenges has a path forward, a solution grounded in self-awareness, community, and small intentional habits. The most powerful message here is this: you are not alone. And growing older does not mean growing weaker. It means growing wiser, adapting with grace, and continuing to live fully on your own terms. Whether it's reaching out for support, trying a new brain game, or simply taking a moment to breathe deeply and be present, these small actions build resilience and restore confidence. Aging may change your pace, but it doesn't have to take away your purpose. So honor your body, nourish your spirit, and lean into this chapter with curiosity and compassion. Every day is a new opportunity to care for yourself and to inspire others by the way you choose to live. You've earned this stage of life. Let's make it one of strength, connection, and joy. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It truly helps others discover content that matters. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Whether it's a thought, a simple one, or just a wave to say you're here, your voice makes this space feel more connected. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We appreciate you. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.